Hey everyone, I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for joining me. Today is Thursday, April 24th, 2025. Late last night, there was a magnitude 4.2 earthquake which struck 52 kilometers northwest of Petrolia, California. It occurred at 2041 Universal Time, or 8:41 p.m. last night. The quake occurred at a depth of 10.6 kilometers or 6.6 miles, and there was no reports of damage or injury had been noted, and no tsunami warning was issued. 20 people said they felt this earthquake. USGS gave it an intensity level of 4, and a shake alert once again went out. Here's the location of the felt reports that went in. Looks like Red Crest had one report, intensity level 4, which means to them it felt like a 3, felt indoors by many, outdoors by a few. At night, they may have been woken up, dishes, windows, doors were rattling, automobiles rocked noticeably. This was about 56 miles or 90 kilometers from the epicenter. And then we got a report, McKinleyville, which was 96 kilometers, which would be 59 miles, almost 58 miles to the north. And then to the south, oh, no, there's another one down over here. Mendocino, 152 kilometers, light shaking, vibration. So that would be about 94 miles. Now, the longer the fault, the larger the fault rupture would have a lot to do with the intensity of the earthquake. The Mendocino fault is 186 miles long. There was another earthquake shortly before this, magnitude 4.2, which was a magnitude 3.0, close to the same location. On April 22nd, there was a magnitude 3.0. That one is over here. I got it marked out for you. And on April 20th, there was a magnitude 2.4. And I think I have another one marked. Maybe not. Okay. A lot of people don't realize that the Mendocino fault zone actually runs all the way to the east and was the cause of the 1992 magnitude 7.2 earthquake. Yeah, that was attributed to the Mendocino fault rupture. That earthquake occurred on Saturday. It was a Saturday, April 25th at 11:06 a.m. And in my last couple videos, I've talked about this coronal hole that is happening on the sun. It's one of the largest coronal holes ever seen in probably decades, or at least the last 10 years. I want to briefly go over it for those that haven't heard about my reports. Here's the coronal hole, and it looks like it's going to probably join up with the coronal hole in the north. And these do, in fact, create earthquakes, adverse weather, and affect people's health here on Earth, as the plasma stream, the solar stream, the winds impact our Earth. As this coronal hole has been growing through the last couple of cycles, there's been quite a few large earthquakes. Someone asked about the earthquake in Turkey. Yeah, that was probably caused by the solar stream coming out of this dark mass. It's actually an area that's cooler than the rest of the sun, and what's going on is it's sucking up, I guess the best way you can see, the heat from the other parts of the sun, going into the center of these two locations. And it's also creating, for the sunspot areas, a lot of instability. Yeah, and we very well could have a magnitude 7 earthquake, or even larger, somewhere here on Earth because of what's going on with the sun. A lot of people don't realize that aftershocks can cause a lot of damage. And this magnitude 7.2 earthquake, did just that. There was a fire that destroyed a 100-year-old Petrolia general store. Homes that had some damage, maybe they slid off their foundation. the aftershocks after actually finished off the homes. One person who lived in that area during those earthquakes, Peter Cook, who was a construction worker in Petrolia, who watched as his home that he built 30 years before inched a little bit farther off its foundation with each aftershock. And then eventually the whole home was completely knocked to the ground. 94 people were treated at hospitals for mostly minor injuries that included broken bones and cuts. All but 12 were released after maybe 24 hours. And those that were injured included 4 firefighters. 2 of the aftershocks that followed the next day on Sunday was a magnitude 6.0 at 12:42 a.m. and a 6.5 at 4:18 a.m. Both aftershocks were felt as far as San Francisco, 200 miles to the south. And there was at least 40 aftershocks that registered more than a magnitude 3.0. In Scotia, that town that is owned by the Pacific Lumber Company, now that's to the north here, right there. The first aftershock sparked an electrical fire that destroyed the only city's shopping center, including a grocery store, a hardware shop, a pharmacy, and a coffee shop. Virtually the entire business district were burnt to the ground. The lumber mill across the street was spared. So let's go in here and take a look. Firefighters were hampered by the lack of water in the fire hydrants because of the ruptured water lines from the earthquake. They watched helplessly as flames shot 100 feet in the air and engulfed the stores. Eventually, they were able to draw water from nearby ponds, but that ended up being too late. Many of you probably remember the 1906 San Francisco earthquake and fires. Most of the town was destroyed, San Francisco, in fact, by the fires. And people don't realize that the Mendocino Triple Junction, going back down here to these earthquakes, is in fact the Mendocino Fault Zone, part of the Triple Junction there in Northern California. It is approximately 300 kilometers or 186 miles long. It runs along Mendocino Fracture Zone, connecting the Cascade Subduction Zone to the San Andreas Fault Zone. And I have that drawn out too. Let's see, down over here. This is where the San Andreas Fault Zone comes up and around, and here we got the Cascadia Subduction Zone. The largest earthquake that was ever recorded for the Mendocino Fault was in fact the 1994 magnitude 7.0, in September of 1994. The event occurred on the Mendocino Fault. People don't realize that because this is recorded inland, and they feel that this fault zone is also directly associated with the 7.0 earthquake that they had in 2024 last year, where they sent out the tsunami warning and then it was quickly canceled. Other notable events since 1980, the region has seen 6 7.0 quakes, including in 1980 and 2005, both a magnitude 7.2. And that was within what they call the Gorda Plate, which is up over here. Scientists believe that the 2024 7.0 earthquake actually probably increased stress on both the San Andreas Fault and the Cascadia Fault. I believe that is it right there. So people need to be prepared. I mean, with these solar winds going on, many might say, well, it's signs in heaven. And there's also increased earthquakes, signs on Earth. We're currently watching the volcano. They're up by Anchorage for a possible eruption. We don't know. Yeah, people need to be prepared. What ways are you preparing? Do you have extra food and water and medical supplies, a backup power source? Do you have contact with loved ones that they can use like an operator in other states? Because if there's a large earthquake somewhere, yeah, your local state phone lines, cell phones could be down or overloaded. Sometimes text messaging still works. Do your friends know or family know who to contact that could be in another state to let them know if you're okay or if there's injuries and what's going on? Please put that information down below. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.